got everything set up here to go and get in the stream. Let me get a little sip here, but so obviously I'm going to talk about this flick Obsession. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things tonight. I got a couple of things on deck for you guys that I think will be worthwhile. So if you're at home, it's Saturday, you know what I'm saying? If you had a little coffee already, it's 1 p.m. here. I'm out in the south, right? Southeast. And super hot outside, right? So this is absolutely a day for doing some serious podcasting, right? Streaming, because I ain't going outside. I already been outside today, man. I'm telling you. Outside can have it, man. Outside sending us a message about life right now, man. About fragility in life. But it's cool because I watched this flick, Obsession, last night. And I had a lot of thoughts on this flick, man. Like, all good things. Like, it's one of those movies, man, where, like, I had initially sat down in front of it like a week ago, and I was like, what's going on? I wasn't really, and I pulled a quick switch on this thing because it kind of looks a little low budget. Like it does, and that kind of makes it really susceptible to, suspect to me. But I went ahead and got into it, man, and it was a really good flick, man. It was a really good flick. And I'm going to tell you right now, the young lady who plays Nikki, I can't remember what her name is, Indy something. Let me see if I can find it here. This girl outperforms the flick, right? And it's not just because she's an attractive lady. It's not that, right? It's not that. She actually does a really good job because, like, the overall, let me see if I can find the cast. I just want to find this girl's name, right? Not images. Indy Navarrete, right? Indy Navarrete. That's this young lady here. And she gives a great performance because she's able to switch on and off emotions like on a dime. Like, she is almost like, I'm not going to put her up there with Anthony Starr, obviously Homelander, but she's got some skills, right? She's got some skills. And the co-star guy, I can't tell, his name is Michael Johnson. I can't tell if you're just a really good actor or you're just kind of a nerd the whole time, okay? So I can't tell whether he's doing a good job or whether you're just, this is just how you are all the time. He's one of those actors, right? But regardless of that, they put together a good storyline, right? And this storyline, the storyline of this is extremely interesting. Like, this is one of the most classic storylines ever in any kind of storytelling. This is it right here, right? This is getting a wish, right? This is getting a wish. And there's a lot of mythology in this story about wishes, right? Because that's ultimately what it is, right? And there's a couple of angles, and I wanted to kind of give you all the angles on this because this is one of those things where we're talking about like some big components, right? It's like some big components here. We're talking about how wishes, like the wish itself. And I'm going to come back to the wish. I'm going to save it for last because this is where, Bear, who's the protagonist here, supposedly, discovers this one wish willow, right? You buy this thing at a, magic store, and he uses this wish to make Nikki fall in love with him, right? And this is where the nightmare begins. This is a classic story about wishing for stuff, right? Wishing for stuff, if you haven't noticed, is extremely dangerous. And I'm going to talk about a lot of the films, right? Before we get into it, I'm going to talk about a lot of the films and stories that have already told you, you better be careful what you wish for. You better be careful what you wish for. What you wish for and how you wish for said wish are going to be extremely important, right? There's all these films about this, right? I'm going to tell you guys, if you don't believe this, man, there's an old film I want you guys to go check out right now. And watch this one. It should be available anywhere, dude. Like, you should really be able to find this. A 1987 classic film. Let me see if I can grab this image for you guys here. You'll see this here in a second. And this will tell you everything you know about wishes, okay? Because the wish itself isn't evil, right? Wishes themselves are not evil. It's the delivery system or the mechanism for said wish. That is always a problem. I'm bringing this film up here. This is a classic mythology about Jinn. This is the Wishmaster, where like the act of wishing takes you through an agent who himself hates you already, right? Or whatever he's feeling. I can't speak to his real emotions, but he is not your friend in this scenario, right? He's got some issues about working down there. You know, you go someplace and the employees are terrible because they hate working down there. Because they hate working down there, they make it a terrible experience for you. That's the wish master. When you go to get a wish and you see you're in his line, just get out of line. Just get out of line, because he's going to make sure that wish is terrible for you, right? They're going to make sure that this wish gets granted to you in the worst possible way. So this is what we're going into it with wishes. So there's a lot that's going on there. There's a lot that's going on there. So this is wishes. This is love magic, which is a large part of what it is. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about agency. We're going to talk about all these connections, right? Because this is essentially what Bear does. Bear, because he's in love with this girl, right? He's kind of the, he's not kind of the geeky guy. He's the geeky guy, right? He's in love with this girl, and he's like, you know what? I gotta have her. Like, and the thing about it is, it's terrible, man, because what he really robs her of is agency, right? Which is the greatest crime anyone can do. To rob someone of their right to choose you. And at that point, I can't even say that you actually love her. You just want to possess her. And that's something very different. So this is kind of where he goes wrong. So this is the point where we talk a lot about like what ancient knowledge said about magic, love magic, right? That this isn't necessarily about romance. Love magic is typically about control. That's the dark side of love magic. So they instantly bring up this scenario. We can go back in the Greek myths. The Greek myth was heavy. Roman mythologies were heavy on binding spells. And they would pray for people to make her only think about me. Make her unable to sleep without me. Make her abandon everything else for me. Make her desire only me, right? And that's a lot. That's saying a lot, because this is what wish magic is. And this is an important thing we have to understand about wish magic, okay? Because wish magic, a lot of times you're not asking for love, you're asking for possession. You're asking to force someone to be a certain way. Like, this girl, right? And she's kind of, she's obviously an attractive girl. What you should be doing is, I wish myself to be attractive to her. Because she liked you as a friend, but she didn't want to get with you. Like that's 100% what it is. So you use this wish magic, and the consequences, of course, are terrible. And even beyond the ways I would think, she gets obsessed, where it literally evaluates him above everything else. Any threat like that, like he doesn't consider the consequences of his actions. Like, what does it mean that somebody's going to love me above everything else all the time? And it creates like a psychological dependency on her that he can't break. Like, he can't in good conscience break it, because she would like kill herself, literally. And I'm not saying anybody should do that. I'm simply saying this is what he creates. And if we go back, like, lots of cultures have warned us about exactly this. This is exactly this. They come in different forms, but they say shit like, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you demand. Be careful what you try to control. So these are things some things only have value when they're given freely. Like love, like friendship, right? Like faith, like respect. Those things don't come by control mechanisms. So even like, you can't force a friendship and isn't friendship, right? It's not friendship. Forced loyalty is not really loyalty, and forced love isn't love. So he wasn't making himself something that she could love. He forced her to love him as it is. So this is a conflict with her own nature. And we see Nikki start to deteriorate because of what he's doing to her brain, right? Like, this is what he's doing. He's really jacking up her brain here. So it makes a great mythology. It makes a great story, because we see a lot of this, behavior reflected in other mythologies outside. Like I said, we're going to talk about the monkey paw, and we're going to talk about the djinn. Obviously, I'm bringing them up for a reason, because I'm kind of working through this as I'm percolating through this thing right now, right? So this is kind of where it is. This is kind of how he comes at her. Now, there's a lot that goes into just doing that, because really what he robs her of is agency. That's the main thing. That spells like this that are binding, I'm forcing you to love me, I'm robbing you of the agency to make a choice. Now, when we talk about this mechanism, now the mechanism that he does all this is a really simple spell. He finds this thing like at a, what you would look at as like a, hot, I don't want to say a Hot Topic kind of store. I guess it was clearly deeper than Hot Topic, but it's kind of a, I don't know. I guess it's a witchcraft store, like a shop where they sell you like witchcraft implements and things of that nature, right? So he gets this one wish, this one willow, right? Basically, this willow is, obviously from willow tree, and you snap it and you make your wish and it grants your wish. Like, this is a bigger view. If you need to see this thing, like, this is the larger view of this thing, right? So you get this thing, and I don't know how much you pay for it. This guy didn't seem like he was rich, and I think, man, you guys would be so, if these things were any good, they'd be $1 billion, right? So the fact that it doesn't cost $1 billion should tell you that there's something terribly wrong with this. Because one of the characters in the film literally wishes for $1 billion, and I think he gets it. We just see money coming down. And we hear him later saying, come on, it's real. So if a thing that grants wishes only costs you about $850, don't buy it, because that's going to be a terrible reality altering implement that you're going to have. This is going to be the worst reality altering thing in the entire universe. Is this $8.50, magic wishes that you bought. Wishes aren't that cheap, okay? Wishes are never going to be that cheap. Wishes always come with a much higher cost. But there's significance in this willow. Like, first, there's a lot in this willow. There's a lot in the willow itself. The fact that it is a willow, and it's literally a willow stick. I wish I had a picture of it, but it's literally a willow stick that he pulls out of there and he snaps it. And this is where it starts to go, it's kind of representing, the entirety. It's not a demon. It's not a god. It doesn't present those things. It stays within, the magic being unto itself. And the willow itself is a very deliberate choice. That's not by accident. It's actually really, really insightful lore writing. Because across a lot of folklores, especially here in the States, like willows themselves, the willow tree is associated with liminal spaces. Like that thin space between this world and right? Everything else that's over there, the afterlife, all that stuff that we don't want to mess with over here, that's what the willow represents. It's at the liminal spaces that everything gets close. So now we're talking about spirits, like it's associated with spirits. How you've seen like the weeping willow trees. They look like they're sad, right? They're associated with grief. They're associated with mourning. They're associated with enchantment. Like, this is natural to it. So unlike oak itself, like we know the oak, it represents like strength and kingship. A willow is typically associated with emotional states because it bends, because it droops, because it hangs. Visually, you look like sorrow. You visually look like sad. Like, if I was going to name you something, I would have named you sad tree. And so this was an important thing. Now, there are lots of liminal spaces, and we see those things happen in movies all the time, like The Mirror, right? Like, caves are liminal spaces, especially if you go to Greek mythology. If you go to Greek mythology, you always go to some cave, and if you go further enough in cave, you come upon Cerberus, because now you're in the underworld, right? So that's what a liminal space is, a thin layer between this world and or everything else. Maybe that other space you're going to is good. I never see the liminal spaces take you anyplace good. I haven't seen one yet. Maybe they exist, right? Mirrors are the same way. It's the same scenario in which you summon D-Man, right? I'm not saying the name, but when I say D-Man, right, and you summon him in the mirror, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not wasting them names, right? I'm not putting it out there because he might be like, right? That's how I imagine Candyman. I imagine Candyman's like, right? I imagine Candyman like on Reddit, like seeing if people were talking shit. That's what I imagine Candyman as. Like, okay, all right, I already told you, keep my name out your dental mouth, out your dental work, right? So that's kind of how I see it. So the liminal spaces, wells are liminal spaces, and that's important. Like, I'm going to give you guys an example of a well. What was that movie called? Oh my god. Oh yeah, this is a good one. And I bet you guys weren't even thinking about this being a liminal space. This is interesting. Okay, this is interesting. Let me grab this image. This is just taking a little bit sec. Calm down, all right? It's gonna be all right. Okay. You guys remember this flick right here? Oh, come on. What the hell is this? You guys remember this flick? Came out, I think the original one comes out in like 05. The Ring, right? And The Ring is seriously talking to you guys about liminal spaces. Now, this is an interesting thing because obviously we see the ring itself representing that well that she's in. So that well in itself is really old in storytelling of a liminal space. It totally makes sense. If a demon or something was going to come from someplace else into here, a well is one of the most probable places. A well, a cave, right? A mirror, right? We see it come through mirror all the damn time. Those are like the places that you gotta really, really watch, because a lot of mythologies focus on that. A stone is also something that's like that. So there's some type of connection between these liminal spaces. The Ring did a masterful job of that, focusing on that well being, again, that liminal space. And we see that in all kinds of mythologies and storytelling. If you want to write a good story, start with your liminal space. Your liminal space will allow you to get demons and fairies, and anything you want can happen in a liminal space, right? That's kind of the magic of it. But what The Ring also hits on, and I actually should talk about this in a whole separate piece. And in fact, I'm going to talk about this in a whole separate piece. The Ring actually also introduces the idea of the TV being a liminal space. Now, we were initially hooked into that idea from Poltergeist. Like, at least for me, the first story I ever saw where the TV itself was the conduit, the bypass between this world and the afterlife, was Poltergeist. But The Ring actually does it in this format as well, right? So this is what we mean when we talk about liminal spaces. It's the ability to go between two realms, right? And those are your primary conduits. You got like 5 different spaces where you can get to. Now you got to include the TV, because the TV is now a liminal space. Ask Carol Ann about this. So this is one of the big mythologies that's buried in the story, is about the willow itself. Why they chose the willow shows me that the writer or the director, whoever it was, has a good understanding of mythology itself to choose the willow being this conduit for wishes. Now, the other part of it is that the wish willow mythology itself comes from fae or fairy mythology. Like, the willow doesn't behave like a demon. It doesn't behave like demons. Like to tempt you. Demons are like, yeah, come on, you want to get some of this. They sit on your shoulder and whisper crazy stuff in your ear, right? Like, go down and invade the underworld, right? They tell you all kinds of stuff. They tempt you into doing stuff. Like, it did it to Inanna. Like, one of the greatest stories of Inanna is getting tempted by a demon. Everybody skips that part where she had a demon friend, which I'm like, all right, I don't know if I can handle having a demon friend, but I never had one, so I don't know. But demons tempt you. Like, willows don't do that. This is the willow tree. It doesn't do that. It simply grants you what you ask for. And so this kind of puts it closer to fae folklore, like Celtic lore. Like, there was a lot of like beings out there that operate by very strict rules. And this is what wishes are about, right? They're not evil. They're not good, but they simply enforce a bargain. Like, that when you enter into the wish world, when you're dealing with the wish master, what you say matters. This is why they say, be careful what you wish for. I'm going to say that again. Be careful what you wish for, because all your wishes have consequences. And that's the lack that goes behind consequences, is actually thinking about that. And the willow tree itself also kind of represents fate. This is a secondary interpretation, that the willow itself, it may not be granting wishes, it's revealing truth, right? It doesn't create Bear's desire itself. It's simply manifested. So this is more like the ideas of Greek concepts of fate in that mythology. So fate was not concerned with whether you should get something. It only concerns itself with following your choices to the literal done. Like, you say, I want this, right? Okay, that's what you get. You better make sure you thought about everything that you needed while you were getting that, right? So that, and I'm gonna show you some very specific mythologies about, be careful what you wish for. Your words matter. Like, we're all adults now, right? Use your words, right? make an outline. If you're gonna wish for something, you better have a damn outline. Make sure you have it ran through legal. Like if I made a gin or anything right now, they're like, I'm gonna give you 3 wishes. The first thing I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna go consult my attorney because I want my wishes all laid out so precisely so there can't be any misinterpretation of it. But back to the willow. The willow itself represents a lot of other things. The willow itself represents like Yggdrasil. Like the Yggdrasil quartz is the tree of knowledge. This was sacred. Now this tree obviously was sacred in like Norse mythology. And let's see if I can find an image of that, because that'll give you guys a visual of what I'm talking about. So this willow tree representation is super important, right? It's not just nothing. It's not just nothing, because they are pulling in some actual older mythology, even just in representing that. So that willow tree, the fact that it's made out of willow is far more significant than just like, yeah, whatever. It's not yeah, whatever. It's actually a pretty significant part of the storyline. Where are you at now? Okay. All right. So that's kind of how the story starts to progress. It's a story all about willows, but the bigger story is like, so there's some mythology that's in there. There's some mythology that goes along with it just being a willow tree unto itself. And what does it say? What does this story say about actually granting wishes? What does it actually say about, like, we have lots of other stories where somebody wished for something and it went mad wrong, right? It really went absolutely off the rails from what you would have wanted it to be, okay? Let me see if I can add this on here, okay? Let's see. Let me see if I can get you here. You know what? I don't do that. You know what? Let's do this. This will be easier. I'm sorry, I don't want to share my whole screen because, let's be honest, guys. So this is gonna be the first one. Let me grab this for you here, and I can put this image up here for you guys. This is all about like ancient people have been telling you guys about wishes forever. And this is gonna be an old tale. I'm sure everybody's gonna be familiar with this one here. And you should be, right? The first one here about wishes is King Midas. King Midas is one of the oldest stories that you hear about as a kid where your wishes go wrong, right? He wanted everything I touch will turn to gold, which sounds great. That actually sounds like one of the best wishes of all time. I can only imagine how rich you're going to be when you just walk around turning everything in your house into gold. You're going to be clearly the richest man in existence. But what happens is the wish granter literally gives you exactly what you wish for. They don't care. They don't give you any warning, right? They don't tell you, yeah, you might not. You want to make sure you can turn that ability off. You know, you're not, again, that's what you get for not wishing for knowledge, right? Not wishing for wisdom, right? You make bad decisions. So he makes this decision, King Midas does, and now you can't eat food. Now you end up turning your daughter into gold. You can't drink. Your water turns into gold around you. Food is gold. Your bed turns to gold. So now you can't sleep in a comfortable place. Like, it's terrible. What he went through was terrible, and all 100% your own fault. But this is because you don't understand how to make wishes. Okay. This is another one. This one's even more terrible, man. I'm telling you, man. If you get a chance to make a wish, my brother, you better make sure you get it right. You got to come down to the letter. You got to let them know this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and be very specific. Like, don't be like, yeah. This is a good one right here. This is the best one here. I think it's a classic. I can get this image to act right. Where you at? Okay, there you go. This is a classic. This is one of the best examples of wishing gone wrong, man. I'm telling you, and it's Eos and Tithonus, right? Eos and Tithonus. If you guys don't know the story of Eos and Tithonus, Eos herself is the goddess of the dawn. She's another Greek goddess who's super hot, right? And her lover is Tithonus. And they loved each other. And they saw that, I'm a goddess. I'm going to live forever. So she goes up to Zeus And she's like, yeah, Zeus, let's allow him. I want to make him become immortal so he doesn't die. And Zeus grants him that. But what she forgot to ask for was eternal youth. So now he just lives forever, but continually getting older and older and older. So this is a very dark side of lacking foresight into what you actually be wishing for. Like, you can wish for some stuff and it turned out to be an absolute freaking catastrophe. Okay, there's another one here. Like, yep, there's more. Like, I know it seems like, man, there should be more stories about people getting wishes. Well, there are. There's a whole lot, and none of you guys ever read them. Because if anybody gets a chance to get a hold of a genie right now, or a monkey paw, I already know what you guys are gonna do. We're gonna be living this whole movie all over again, because I know exactly what you guys are gonna do. The same thing that I'm gonna do. Because I'm gonna start making my wishes, right? So this flick, Monkey Paw, is about that. It is fundamentally about this monkey paw grants 3 wishes. Technically, all the wishes are filled. It just does it in the most asshole way possible. That's the whole key. The universe isn't listening to your intent. Like, this is spell mastery, this is spell casting. The world isn't, the universe isn't like, okay, what does he want? When he says he wants happiness, okay, let's figure out what that is. No, they're like, I don't give a damn. I'm giving you whatever sounds like what you want. Like, I want to be immortal. What? Like, you know that I attach immortality into agelessness, right? I don't know why, but most of us think that way. Most of us think that getting old means that, or being immortal means you don't get old anymore. But clearly, that's not the rule. That's not actually what happens. You don't actually get to be immortal and not age, right? So that's clearly what the Greeks told us in this story, and they know more about it than I do. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. But you get some serious L's when you start wishing other people to do stuff that you want them to do. Like, that's the moral of the story. Like, no matter what bear does, you start off by doing the wrong thing. You start off, and it was brilliantly done, but it really, like I said, to me, it really highlights all the stories that we hear over all these years about be careful what you wish for, right? Don't wish for no BS, right? Because when you do, it's going to come back. And don't take away someone's agency. Like, that's the thing that bothers me most. You say that you love Nikki, but man, you're moving pretty fast to take away her agency, her ability to even decide for herself. You decided that was your business, not her own business. So that's kind of where it is. Now, the other thing I want to get into today is talking about this flick here, right? Oh man, that sucks. Okay, let me move this thing out of here. Obviously, it's not going to allow me to use this image. Let me see. Let me grab an image for you guys here. I picked up this audiobook, and remember I kept saying I was going to kind of get back into doing some more, not necessarily book reviews, but just reviewing a book. You know what I'm saying? Like, not giving my opinions, but just kind of telling you what I think about the book. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. So I picked up a new book, and I cracked this one open, and you know what? I'm going to tell you about my whole experience here, right? Like, this whole book was a whole experience. And that in itself is a good thing. A book is supposed to be an experience. But goddamn. So I picked up this Wonder Woman book. Jeez, what the heck? How are you not able to... Okay, where are you at? There we go. Okay, this should work. Okay. So this is the book that I started listening to. This is the audio book. Wonder Woman... War Machine. And this is a very relevant book because it's kind of a Helen of Troy story at the same time, right? The whole premise being that there are some women who are cursed or whatever it is, they develop this Warbringer, like hunting them, like they bring out the worst in warfare. That's kind of, with the new Odyssey coming up, like the Odyssey is a perfect example of this story. This is a perfect example when they're like, yeah, you guys are kind of destroying the kingdom for you chasing a skirt, right? Or whatever the case may be. So now we have that manifested, right? Because this is one of the oldest stories. If we look at, this is the Helen of Troy actual story, right? Where she was the daughter. This is the gods were setting that off too. And the reason I'm talking about that is because Wonder Woman's story directly involves that. What she's saying is that she's hunting a modern day. Like, it wasn't just Helen who became this distraction that led men to war. Other women have held that mantle as well. And when that person arrives, she facilitates the conditions for warfare, like on some of the biggest scales. So that's essentially what the story is about. And I think it's poorly executed. Like I said, it wasn't a book I could really even get into, but that's essentially the principle. So I thought I'd talk about it, given that, you know, the Odyssey is out, and this obviously ties right into every single one of those characters. So we get to see a side of her as a character, I kind of think, which is kind of cool, right? Like, this is her in a completely kind of different environment. Her as, you know, she's a protector, but this is also young Diana. And so we're kind of seeing like how the story of Helen of Troy, like, they're like, yeah, there was a Helen of Troy around in World War I. There was a Helen of Troy during the Vietnam conflict. Whatever war you could think about, she was typically the catalyst for that. So the idea was that if people could capture or kill her, that would prevent warfare. I don't know yet because I haven't got to the end of it. It's not over for me yet. I may go back to this book, but as of right now, I'm like, yeah, this wasn't a great read, right? That's just what it was. But I also want to spend a little time and talk about not only Diana, who's, you know, increasingly one of my favorite characters, but it's time to talk about her sister, who's Nubia, right? Like, let's talk a little. Let me see if I can find this clip here for Nubia. Nubia, where are you at, Nubia? Oh man, what did I do with that thing? Hang on. Let me grab this image for you guys here. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I thought I downloaded this image, man. This is a good one. So this kind of brings you back talking a little bit more Diana mythology, and this is Diana and Nubia. And I just like to speak on Nubia every so often to remind people that this is a non-mainstream character that really, really deserves mad up respect. Like, this is essentially a character who was billed as like Wonder Woman's sister at various times. And the story of Nubia reveals more to us about Diana. Actually, we get to know a little bit more about, you know, her backstory. The story essentially, as it started off, now DC has actually changed it or kind of reworked the story, but initially, you know, Diana came out in 1941. It's going to be like 30 years before Nubia comes out, you know. She comes out in, I think it's like 73. So I'm right on that. She comes out in like 73. But the significant thing about this character isn't the gap between. Like, obviously there was a lot in there. But when she jumps on the screen, we get to see like a different side. Like, the mythology was that Hippolyta, because the old Wonder Woman mythology was that Hippolyta had crafted her out of clay, right? This white, pure clay, and went to the gods and they brought it to life for her, and that's because this is her daughter. Well, the story with Nubia is that they use brown clay. So similar clay, similar process, just a little bit in the shading, and that's why you get this per this mythology. Now, the other story that DC started working with this is that Diana is actually the son of Zeus, right? So that, you know, again, they hit her origin so that, you know, Hera's down there tripping, right? You already saw she tried to do Hercules. She wouldn't have worked with Diana, but you can see why. Why she would have put it down. So this is where you get Nubia. Now, Nubia, whether, you know, now in the second story, the second rendition of at least Diana, Nubia is just considered an Amazon who rises to power and eventually becomes the queen. So there's a good relationship with this character there all the time. Now, the difference is Nubia on the storyline was kidnapped from birth. And she was raised by Ares, who of course is the war god, right? So that's where a lot of her problems come from. Diana, of course, grew up differently. And they grew up to be Diana more of a guardian. Nubia now operates as more of an ambassador, right? Diana grew up on Themyscira. It was a great place and always clean. And this is kind of the big takeaway, is that Nubia never got that, right? Like, Nubia was kidnapped. She was kidnapped by Ares. So she gets up. I mean, again, Ares is as bad as it gets in warfare. So this is a guy who's kind of giving her, kind of pumping her up to go and fight Diana. So the two characters do finally get to interact, and they actually walk away from it being relatively friendly with one another. So that's a good part of the story that I actually really like. And most people don't know that Wonder Woman kind of has she's kind of not her sister now. At least they don't show any direct connections in that regard. But it's different because, we're seeing their culture being more accepting, just being kind of cool with everybody, which I think is more important than the symbolisms anyway. So that's kind of where I was going with this, this idea of Nubia, and just kind of talking about the difference between her and Diana. And I really like it. Right now I'm kind of into the Supergirl, flick. So I'm definitely looking at Women of Agency actually looks pretty dope, right? So we see a couple of obviously real type of leader chicks, right? So I'm feeling really, really good about it. And I like both the characters. I like how Nubia rolls, and I hope that we can get more development out of this character. That's ultimately what I would wish for. So that's kind of my time right now. I just kind of want to go over those topics right there. I'll probably be back later because I'm sure I'm going to see something that's going to make me damn it, I got to talk about that. And I will do that. But until that time, you guys always check us out. Link up with me. If you guys want to follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff, I'll make sure it's worth your while. I definitely appreciate all the support that I get, man. It's an amazing feeling for you to do something and people just be like, I like what you do. I understand what you say. That's kind of an important and wonderful feeling. So I definitely enjoy it with the audience. And we'll be back to